Thank you very much for that introduction, Victoria. It's great to be with you here, even virtually this year. It's so nice to have heard all the presentations so far this morning. So my name's Dr. Anna Hogg. I'm an academic at the University of Leeds, and you may normally find me using satellite data, particularly SAR and altimetry, to observe the polar regions with a focus on Antarctica and Greenland. But unusually today, I'm not going to speak to you too much about my glaciology research. I'm going to talk to you about all the exciting activity that's been going on up in Leeds with regards to starting SENSE, the first Earth observation doctoral training programme. I'd like to tell you a little bit of work that we've been doing to try and improve equality, diversity and inclusion amongst the scientific community. And then I'd like to finish off with some new news about a regional space hub that we've recently launched in collaboration with the UK Space Agency. So thank you very much for having me here today, and I hope that you'll find this talk exciting and open up opportunities for us all to collaborate more in the future. So SENSE is the Centre for Doctoral Training for Earth Observation, and we've got a dual focus on establishing a generation of scientists that have expertise in processing all types of satellite data, with expertise also in computer sciences, so using advanced computer techniques such as machine learning and artificial intelligence to help improve the way we do things. To start with, we comprise four main institutions. The University of Edinburgh and the University of Leeds are the academic leads on the centre, but we're supported by the National Oceanography Centre, or NOC, and British Antarctic Survey. So combined, we offer a really great environment for PhD students to start their studies. We've got a large number of world-leading scientists specialising in Earth observation data processing across a range of thematic disciplines, from cryosphere to forests or from oceans to tectonics. You'll find somebody in our institutions that knows the cutting-edge techniques that need to be used to analyse these data sets. But it's not just the number and quality of the staff that we have in our host institutions that makes SENSE such a great environment to train the next generation of Earth observation experts. It's also the exceptional facilities that we have to hand. So whether it's a BAS airplane or a NOC ship for you to do your calibration and validation campaigns, or whether you need to make use of our large computing facilities such as Archer 2, which is hosted up at the University of Edinburgh. But it's really important that we also make use of our UKRI funded facilities such as SEMS, which Victoria is obviously playing a leading role in hosting down at Harwell and supporting. And that makes it a really great, there's two core areas. We've got the expert staff and then exceptional facilities, and that makes for an ideal PhD environment in our view. So just to cement that feeling, if you're not convinced already, we bring in a lot of research income as well. So that is another reason why it's such a good environment for PhD students to be based in. We win research funding from the European Space Agency and also for NERC for using satellite data sets to answer the big, important environmental science questions. And you can see a little tally of the number of grants that we've got there. And I think that there's one really nice example that's timely that I'd like you to focus on in the centre of this slide, which is atmospheric NO2 measurements from Sentinel-5P. It's obviously a COVID-related example, and you can see that there's very low NO2 in the 2020 year. And if I skip to the next slide, you can see that the 2019 NO2 concentrations were much higher. And so it shows that we're able to be responsive and using satellite data quickly to answer big questions every year. So SENSE launched back in 2019, and we've had our first cohort of students start in 2020. You can visit our website here, the URL is listed, and there's lots of useful information online there. We've got our equality, diversity and inclusion PhD recruitment best practice, which I'll refer to a bit later in my presentation. But there's also some really cool outreach activities that we were able to put together at quite short notice to give school kids fun things to do, despite not being able to be in school this year. If you follow us on Twitter, we've got some really great resources on there as well. There are some inspirational stories from PhD students based in our institutes at the moment, showing how they got into science and why they decided to do a PhD. And we were really proud to host a careers webinar, which the recording is now on our YouTube channel, with our colleagues from the Met Office, ESA, British Geological Survey and SMEs that use Earth observation data, showing that getting PhD training in Earth observation doesn't just lead you to a career in academia. There are so many more opportunities that are available to everyone. So within SENS, I've talked a lot about our academic expertise, and the universities that our students are based in is a really important part of that. But we couldn't do all of this without the funding that we've received from our research councils, NERC in this case. The centre itself will be recruiting 50 PhD students in Earth observation projects over the next 3 years of intake. And that provides a great opportunity for collaborations between the scientific community across the UK with our researchers in SENS institutes. So please get in touch with your colleagues in those organisations if you want to collaborate on a project. But one thing we're really proud about is the strong industry collaboration that we've set up through the centre. You can see the names and logos of worldwide and sector-spanning institutes in space industry in the UK, and all of our students during their time will conduct a 3-month placement with an industry partner. And so we pay their salary during that time. And so all you have to do is host a young and enthusiastic student, and please do get in touch with me if that sounds like something you'd like to take advantage of going forward, since it's for the whole of the UK, not just the institutions that are currently involved. So all of our students will undergo a training programme that covers a wide range of thematic applications for Earth observation data, as well as giving them training in the techniques that they might want to use, such as machine learning and artificial intelligence. Software coding clubs and peer support is a really important part of their technical training. But we've also tried to include sort of soft skills, some people call them power skills, which are non-technical training, which might include entrepreneurship, skills training, scientific communication, and this will hopefully give them all the tools they need to not just be technical experts in their area, but also to have that political education that's so necessary within the space community worldwide. And so, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, our first generation of students has already started. There are 17 PhD students that started in October 2020 under immensely different conditions than a normal PhD student might experience. They've completed their first block of training through virtual learning, and we're doing our best to innovate in that area to make it as exciting an experience for them as possible, despite the virtual learning environment that they have to be in. And you can see the vast range of satellite data sets that they'll be making use of in their PhD, along with the industry partners that are supporting their projects. And we're really proud to be collaborating with those organisations. So I mentioned equality, diversity and inclusion, and we all know that we need to do better in this area in order to diversify the communities that we work in. And SENS has developed a PhD recruitment best practice document that we've published on our website, which we hope provides a toolkit that other organisations can use and improve on in order to help diversify our communities. We've got excellent gender balance, but we know we need to do more in order to improve the ethnic diversity of our cohorts, and that's something we're working on in future years. The core pillars of that PhD recruitment best practice are that we need to focus on all 4 areas of the recruitment phase. So that includes designing PhD projects that have diversity on the supervisory teams. We need to advertise PhD projects beyond the usual reach of findaphd.com. The interview selection process needs to be free from unconscious bias, and then the interviews themselves need to be fair and calibrated. And there are many details that I don't have time to elaborate on today, but I hope that you'll find that an interesting read if you go to our website. As I say, it's very much a starting point. There's more work that needs to be done, but we hope that that can benefit the community overall. So off the back of winning SENS and having these fantastic community of students starting in our organisations, we wanted to try and capitalise on that to grow our hub of expertise in this area. And so we bid in for the UK's recent round of regional space hubs, and were successful in winning funding from the UK Space Agency. We're working very closely with UKSA and also the Satellite Applications Catapult in order to try and map our space network in the Yorkshire region, prioritise a number of areas that we think are worth focusing on, and then to grow and develop a strategy for growth that can see us evolve and grow our activity over the next 5 years. And so that's work that we're undertaking now and will be completed towards March next year. So please get in touch if you're one of those organisations based within our region, or if you're interested in developing further in our area. We've got a real plan of action, and we had a closed meeting in September 2020, virtually obviously, where we had many participants from both the academic community, industry and the space agency and government support in this area. And we were able to thrash out a bit of a plan. We've got an idea of where we think our thematic niches are, and we've got an idea of the tools that span all of those 4 niches that we might use to develop our expertise across the region. And we are collaborating extremely closely with the Economic Partnership, the LEP in our area. So they are really invested in growing the space sector in the Yorkshire region. And so this gives you an idea of the work that will be completed over the next few months. And then finally, to summarise, it's about building our entrepreneurial teams, growing the UK space sector capability, and delivering real-world impacts. There's no point in doing all of this work if we can't actually improve the world that we live in, and space is a really important part of that for us going forward. And so we really welcome collaborations. I guess the key message to say is that Leeds is open for business. If you're a space industry partner and you haven't been working with people in Leeds before, get in touch with me and I will help facilitate those relationships. And so for us, success looks like a number of different things. It means that we want to support the UK space community by training over 50 new research leaders in Earth observation techniques, which I hope will find their way being employees in your organisations, and that will help lead the next generation of space missions that we have and that we launch from the UK. We know that there's a skills gap in Earth observation techniques. That's why UK Space Agency and NERC decided to fund this centre for doctoral training in the first place. And so we hope that our researchers from SENS will be an important part of that. And there are real climate issues that we all need to address in the coming years, and satellite data is the perfect tool to do that. And so we hope that the research will generate new insights, help us better monitor the change that is happening, and will help us plan the policy and next steps that we need to do in order to improve the world we live in. So thanks so much for listening what I've had to say today. I really look forward to speaking with you all further, and if I could just hand over to Victoria to have some Q&A. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Anna. That was really interesting. And I think it's safe to say that we can expect to invite some graduates from your Centre for Doctoral Training to speak at this conference in future years.
I hope so.
Good. Yeah. So one thing that we know is that the demand for these kind of trained individuals is growing on the industry side. We need people who are well trained in these skills. Is the demand growing on the student side as well? Do you think there's a lot increasing numbers of people wanting to study Earth observation related science?
Yes, absolutely. Even just in the last year, from us being a theoretical organisation to this year having students in place and delivering training already, the volume of applications that I'm getting for PhD projects I'm advertising is skyrocketed. I know that we are going to be facing really tricky decisions in March when we conduct the interviews next year, or February, should I say, that there's going to be excellent candidates that we're going to have to turn down, that we're not going to be able to offer a PhD to, and that's heartbreaking. I'd love it for us to be able to have more students in place, not fewer. I guess, so if I could call out to any organisation that knows that they've got a gap in this area, if you'd be able to get in touch with us, you might want to help finance a PhD project going forward. We can provide the training, we can get them skilled up and do that, but we've got a finite number of PhD students. 50 is a lot, but it's not enough. So
that's clear. No, that sounds like it's good news for the sector in any case. So you gave a really interesting example of NO2 and the impacts of COVID. Have you got any other research examples that your students are working on that you could tell us about right now?
Yeah, I think one of the areas that's most exciting to me is almost all of our students are doing this dual focus on both Earth observation data and advanced computer techniques. So they're collaborating very closely with our colleagues in computer science departments in both Edinburgh and Leeds, and really trying to push the envelope there. We've had requests for having more chat forums, so they've got problems on a day-to-day basis because they are starting to try and use existing techniques and apply them to satellite data in ways that they haven't been done before. And so that's a particularly exciting new ish and definitely underexploited subject area that I know that they will be contributing to. And to be honest with you, I'm really excited and inspired by the level of skill they've got coming into their PhD. You know, these guys are only a few months into their projects, and yet they're already able to hold their own and have real knowledge, demonstrate real knowledge on the topic. And so I think that that's shows the potential that they all have. So we just want to support them as well as we can.
Yeah, thanks. A question here from Chris Lee in the audience. Is climate change giving an Apollo effect for the young, do you think?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Thanks, Chris. I think so. I think that if you've got the mention of climate within the PhD project description, it increases its how many times it gets returned on search functions when people are looking, you know, on Find a PhD. There's loads and loads of projects advertised, all of which, you know, are interesting. But it seems to be there's a particular demand for IC projects. They seem to be really well. Students seem to really want to do those type of projects, but then also ones where there's a climate focus seem to be particularly oversubscribed in terms of the number of applicants that we've got. I think the students, yeah, I mean, for example, I was having a conversation with a potential applicant to our centre who, in fact, I think did an internship at RAL Space in the previous year in collaboration with another university. And, you know, it just shows that you don't have to come from an environmental science discipline to be interested in this topic. We've got physics graduates, maths graduates, computer science graduates, engineering students that all want to get involved in tackling climate problems because it means something. And it's a huge privilege to work in an area of science that matters to all of us. So I think they see that.
Well, that might lead into I've got time for one last question. What for you personally was the kind of driving motivation to get involved with SENSE and doctoral training programme?
Well, for me, it was the opportunity to design my ideal PhD environment. You know, if I could have my, my every wish list that I wanted when I was a PhD student, it's an opportunity for me to provide that to the next generation of students. And it's time consuming and it's hard work. And we certainly exceed our university workload in order to deliver it. But it's so meaningful, and I feel privileged to have the opportunity.
Yeah, well, it certainly sounds like a lot of work, but I wish you every success with it. It sounds like it will be beneficial for many.